Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to look at a Stihl 021. Just another typical old fuel, saw won't start kind of repair. Now this one happens to have a little surprise inside the carburetor. Not really a surprise if you work on these things all the time, but so it looks like this saw might be interrupting my cookie break here, but we'll get through. Spark plug looks, fine. In a all used up kind of sense, but nothing bad expected in the cylinder. Still using scrunches on these things. I don't know, it just seems easier than dragging out a ratchet and extension and socket. If you look at the crap sitting on the bench right now and watch the way I use these scrunches, sometimes they're hammers and sometimes they're pry bars. And I'm not going to use one of my nice ratchets for a hammer or a pry bar. So this is just part of the routine here. We're going to pressure test the fuel system. The main thing I'm looking for is don't tell me, a hole in the fuel line or a crack in the fuel line. I already plan on taking the carburetor off, so I'm not worried about the state of the carb. Just want to see if the fuel line's any good. And I guess when I said I plan on taking the carb off, what I should have said was taking the carb off is probably an option. I seem to remember the work order said something about it hadn't run in a while.
Right.
Again, I'm just being stubborn. I mean, after the second or third try, it's pretty obvious what's going on. It's not getting fuel. But I must have had a little bit of that cookie buzz going and felt I had some energy left to pull on it some more, so I did. I'm pissy.
Bullshit level, DEFCON 5.
Some more. Right. So we're done with that. We're going to pull the carb. I think this saw is about 35 years old, if I remember right. Looks like it's been, I don't know, fairly well used. Maybe in a farm type of situation. I've certainly seen worse. Easy to work on, man. If you ever worked on one of these things, you know it's simple stuff. There's no stretching or having to be double jointed or any of that stuff when working on this saw. So we're just going to loosen up the fuel cap so there's no pressure in the tank before I pop this line off the carburetor. Here's a free tip for you. We'll get the little choke rod out of the way, and then we're going to pop the choke/kill lever out of the way and slide the carb off. And again, once I get the carb off, I always like to take a peek inside and see what there is to see. So now on the inlet side of the fuel pump, what do we find? Looks like jet clamp had struck oil here or something, or it's just a bunch of debris. Pretty bad. And that was blocking the flow of fuel, and that's why fuel would seep past it a little bit, and then it would pop or want to start. And then when you demanded more fuel, it just couldn't flow fast enough for the demand, and then it would die. We saw that in the beginning, and that's why. This metering diaphragm, I'm not going to say it's the original one, but it's got some age on it. So we're going to slap in a new set of gaskets. You know, a lot of these kits have 3 or 4 different possible gaskets. I forgot I grabbed just a diaphragm kit and I didn't have a screen, but we keep some extra parts laying around. So an easy way to do this, I got the official Walbro Carb tool kit there, and it's got just the right size punch for seating these screens. And it goes, done. Pretty easy. You can use a pencil, you can use whatever. I use the official tool because I got it. So anyway, there's a lot of different gaskets here that potentially will fit, but which one's the right one? Now you see that little rounded corner on there? Every one of these gaskets has got a different shape on that corner. And just match up the right shape when you're digging through the pile of gaskets, and you probably grab the right one. Not that one. And the shape matches the thin diaphragm there. So once you got it in place, it's pretty easy. Just drop the gasket with the weird shaped corner in the same position as the diaphragm, and you'll have her. Screw the cover back down. We're halfway done. I had no concerns about the needle or the metering lever height. And whenever I open up a carburetor, I put new gaskets in it, and you know, I had a fair idea that this is what we were going to find, was that plug screen. It wasn't flooding, so a stiff metering diaphragm or a bad needle valve wasn't on my radar. So you see I loosened the fuel cap again, because when I pulled the plug out of the fuel line, I didn't want any pressure to blow out all over the bench. Then we're going to reinstall our choke/stop switch lever. It just kind of pushes in a hole on one side and then snaps down in a saddle on the other side. The key here is to remember to lift that spring right there, that thin metal tab, what do you want to call it? It's actually the contact for the kill switch. A lot of people will end up putting that choke lever in there and catching that, I don't know what I want to call it. That metal contact will end up down below the switch, and they wonder why the thing never shuts off. So we got the choke linkage put back together. We're going to put the throttle linkage on here. Again, this just snaps in place. Simple stuff. And we're going to use a scrunch to snap it in place, aren't we? Air filter box goes on. A couple of canuts. Tell you what, we have just been swamped lately. Big storm came through. And a lot of saws to fix. Just a couple of simple carb adjustments to keep it running well enough to take it out to the stump out back. So thanks for watching. Later.